あるっていうかね、水が変わるところでないと本当のたまり水じゃいない。知らないけど。
Para llamar en la frente.
No hay nada.
Poor Pilar, she forget her. Oh, Pilar, you okay?
Yeah.
You want to give her a machete or give her the battle? Aí, vou dar uma paradinha só pra dar uma esticadinha aqui rápido. Na sombra, na sombra.
Passar pra lá um pouco, pera aí.
Ah. Aí por baixo ali, ó, bem baixo ali, ó.
Cadê a volta?
Aí, これがだから7月頃ね来たらこの高さに水があるからすごい面積になって見える。陸なんて一つも見えやしないから。でそういう時にこんなとこで迷ったら出てこれねえわ。あ、キツツキだそこ。その木にキツツキがいる。小さいけども上の方に。
O teu cliente fala inglês, não fala?
Ele sabe.
You speak English, right?
Pouco. A little.
I'm going to give them a general information about para que vosotros se entere bien. Voy a hablar brevemente en inglés con ellos. Si te enteres, pues, pero voy a hablar con otros español también para que te enteres bien. So guys, where are we now? Yeah. Actually, we call the difference is between Amazonas and Amazonia. Yeah. I was explained this morning. We are in one of the big states of Amazonia, which is Manaus, the capital of the state of the Amazonas. Yeah. How big whole region where we now? If you think, how big is the Amazonas? 1.5 million square kilometers. That's whole area. Think from this 1.5 million square kilometers. Think about from January until June, when the water rises up, actually 25 meters. 53% are completely out of the water. Why the trees here, for example, you can see the trees so very small, very thin. Why is that? Because all the humus, as you can see, leaves, fruits, seeds fall into the ground and decompose to make the famous humus. What happens is once the water rises up, wash everything away. So the trees in the area we call secondary rainforest. Trees from 50, can be 70, probably 100 years old. But they don't grow bigger than that because the soil are washing every year. That's the reason why the water from the Negro is black. You can spend a month, you can see, no mosquitoes. Different from the Amazonas. Amazonas, the water is brown, muddy, mosquitoes, malaria, yellow fever are twice as much. At the Amazonas, not in the Negro. Even here, for example, who plants all those trees? For example, if you take a look over here, around us here, you can see one or maybe 3 or 4 different kinds of trees. Why? Fish, when the water is high, fruits, seeds fall into the water, get eaten by fish. Fish spend like 2 or 3 days at the same place. Yeah, 2 or 3 days at the same place, eat and digest. And how the trees grows. Not the factories and the wood companies, not the indigenous people, only the fish. tonight we're gonna have one of the very nice fish from the Negro. For us, the best fish comes from the Negro. Fish with the scales. Why? Fish from the Negro, we call them vegetarian fish because they only eat fruits, nuts, leaves, and seeds. We call them vegetarian fish. It's one of the best, right? Even the Negro, 31 different kinds of the famous piranha fish. All of them is eatable. I'm gonna take you guys tomorrow afternoon. We're going for fishing. If we catch them, we can eat them. It's a very good fish. Otherwise, if you don't eat them, they eat you. So we prefer to eat them, right? So what happened is, what we see now, today, we're gonna see different tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're gonna see trees from 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 years old, very high trees. Why? That's why we call mainland. They'll never get water out there, never. And that's why the soil is more rich. What happened here? Wash every 6 months. Every 6 months of the year, everything out, washing away. When I'm gonna take you guys tomorrow? No, right? Sometimes sailing in this area where we now, right side of the river, it's Army Reserve. For us, not for indigenous people, but for every Brazilian people, it's they have to do is by law, we have to do 1 year as an army service, yeah, from 18 to 19 years old. When you do this 1 year old, you come here for 10 days survival training in the Amazon rainforest. Survive for 10 days, just with a machete, long pants, same shoes, for 10 days. You have to survive in the forest. And also a lot of army from the United States, from Israel, from Spain, from Italy, from many countries came to have a training with us to go, unfortunately, to do those discussing war, which people have around the world. But they mostly didn't come to have a training with our Brazilian armies in the Amazon. So the reason, temperature of the water, you can put your hand in the water on the top, 27, 28, yeah, a little warm. If you go a little bit down, 1 meter down, it goes to about 22 degrees, 20 degrees, yeah. You can feel tonight, Manaus, we are 3 degrees south of the equator, and we only have 2 seasons, January, June, rainy, July into December, it's like that, summer. Sometimes we do have very bad rainstorms during this time, but it's not usually. But as long as we have this cut down the forest, a lot of companies has been changed. So also the temperature, also the climate for us, it has been changed, right? Unfortunately, we can't do much about, unfortunately. But what the fish do for us, they do at least, they replant at least 10% of the fruits of the trees are chopping down. The fish do replant for us, right? So, and the right side of the river is also indigenous. We can see we're gonna pass in front of them. We're not gonna stop, but we can see them. We call them of the area over here, we call Muras. We are 43 different tribes in the region. 43 different tribes, that means 43 different language. Myself, I speak Inyangatu, my mother language, which I come from Mundurucus, indigenous. Munduruku, 600 kilometers east of the Amazonas, from a branch of the Amazonas River, which we call Madeira. That's where I born and grew up there. And I was adopted when I was 5 years. So that's another thing. And I come to study Manaus. I am accountant. I was 15 years in the factories, and I was 7 years in Sony, 8 years in Samsung. So I changed my job for the last 14 years. So I learned English, Italian, Spanish, French, German, and Italian with books, right? So, but in those indigenous reserves, that's not means it's actually a reserve. Unfortunately, we can stop those huge companies from America, from China, from many different countries. We can stop them. Because who given permission to them is our government. The land belongs to the government, and that's the thing is, people don't think about preserve. You know, for example, where I come from, for the last 10 years, every time I remember the problem we have is with the mercury. The mercury are used by a big German company. The mercury goes into the water because they use those mercury they use to separate the gem, to separate the gold. And the mercury into the water, goes into the fish. And the women, when they're pregnant, they have they have to eat the fish from the river, and they have to drink the water from the river. Unfortunately, when the child is born, they're born without the hand, without the arm, without the leg, because there's too much mercury. Damn them to the river. So unfortunately, it's hard, for us to stop, because some of the people who try to preserve, try to stop the lumber companies, unfortunately, they stop. Like Chico Mendes, Raoni, and many others. Unfortunately, it's not interesting for our Brazilian government. Interesting for the government is money, right? So we have so many resources, why chopping down the forest? So we have gold, petrol, many different things, but why cut the forest? And this is very bad. Which is, in Manaus last year, we have a very, very hot summer, which we never had that before, 48 degrees centigrade. Y lo que pasa es que hoy, por ejemplo, donde vivimos nosotros no quiere decir que la tierra es nuestra. La tierra es del gobierno. O sea, los permisos que da los gobiernos, por ejemplo, para las fábricas, son las fábricas, por ejemplo, que están hoy cargando la mayoría de la selva amazónica. Imaginen vosotros 5,5 millones de kilómetros cuadrados, 18% en los últimos 10 años se la han cargado ya. No, menos mal, como había dicho, aquí tenemos 2 o 3, 4 clases de árboles aquí donde estamos nosotros ahora. Entonces puede imaginar quién planta los árboles. Son los peces del río. Por ejemplo, 500 clases de peces se encuentran en el río Negro. Esas 500 clases, pues 49% son pescados de escamas, pescado que se alimenta